First of all, before we get into this, score. What would you score this movie?
I would agree with the critics, about 88.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I would say I'm gonna give it I'd say 8.7.
Okay.
8.6. Not quite a 9, almost, but it's one of the most enjoyable movies, especially from Marvel, that I've seen in a long time. Why did you like it so much?
It was a good balance of humor.
Yeah,
it's like they nailed it.
Yeah,
the humor balance.
Yeah, wasn't too funny.
Just when you think it's about to go too far, too much, they back off,
right?
Move into something serious, and then they introduce it again. And then the people that were introducing the humor was spot on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Red Guardian, even like the back and forth between the different characters.
Yeah.
Even though it was serious moments, there was humor built into it,
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoy that. The kid that played the Sentry,
Yep.
oh
my God,
just nailed it, dude.
Yep.
I mean, I've never really heard of the Sentry. Oh, I did, but I never really did a deep dive into Sentry before I did the Hidden Gem.
Okay.
So I really have no reference, especially live action. But this kid nailed it.
Yeah.
He was the right size.
Yep.
Right. The facial structure, the hair, how he performed.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the eyes. You can see the performance in the eyes.
Yep.
So he definitely nailed it. Bucky's involvement, coming out, willing to go against.
Out of retirement, dude. With
Exactly.
your soldiers back.
Exactly. Doing the senator thing.
Yep.
And B. Fontaine was like, wow, the shortest senator in 2 months or something like that.
Right.
So it was just a lot happening. They moved into the Avengers Tower. De Fontaine did.
Yep.
The transition and they got the Void like spot on.
Yeah.
That look.
Yep.
That was perfect. And it was cool that I actually thought the Void was like killing people, like smearing
At first,
them.
yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So he was actually like putting them into like a dark dimension or some shit,
Yep.
apparently. The only thing that was kind of campy was the big hug at the end.
Yeah.
But even that made sense.
It did. Yep. As cringy as it was,
Right.
it did make sense.
Right.
I agree.
So, to somebody that has psychological issues, I guess the hug is what it takes
Yeah.
to bring them out, right?
Yep.
And then how they ended up, back in the Avengers Tower, going over the new Avengers stuff.
Yep.
Guardian coming out with that shitty ass suit, talking about copyright. Sam Mackey. I mean, not Sam Mackey.
Wilson.
Sam Wilson, coming into the conversation. So
Yep.
that means that he'll be in there at some point, probably their leader,
Right.
and then it ends up, the way it did.
Yeah.
In an interdimensional anomaly, heading toward her. So, I mean, I'm glad you told me that. To stay toward.
Oh, I know. You would have left, yeah.
Because I thought the first one was like the end credit thing.
Right.
But they did something different because these credits weren't that long. Normally, it's like the Star Wars intro.
Right. Yep.
Fucking long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of stuff at the end. And that's why I've stopped staying for the prequel, the end thing, because the credit was just, I mean, I don't really need to know who put the water in the bucket for the janitor.
Wow, that's important, And I would say also, lately, the end credit scenes haven't been much to want to stay for. Like you sit there, I don't need to see the guy selling hot dogs punching himself in the face. Like that's just stupid. Right. I sat here for 27 minutes to see that shit.
Right.
This goes back to what we were talking about last week when they're making post-credit scenes great again, Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're making Mondays great again.
Mm-hmm.
They just made post-credit scenes great again.
Well, I mean, but also there's no post credits where you have a situation where that means nothing.
Right.
Like in Shazam, Superman comes out, and that will apparently never happen.
Nope.
So
it's wasted. Yeah, and this that we're back to where they're important credit scenes. Like I believe that scene is going to be a scene from Doomsday. Mm-hmm. I don't think that was just a post-credit. I think that is part of that Doomsday movie.
Okay.
It was shot on the Doomsday set, and the Russo brothers directed it. They brought the director from Thunderbolts there to watch, just be part of it because it's his story. But the Russos directed it. So we saw this at the end of, was it Infinity War? It was the end of some movie where Captain Marvel showed up, and we saw her interacting with the Avengers. And then that scene was actually an Endgame.
Okay.
Right? So I'm glad that it actually meant something because I'm tired of fucking sitting there and seeing some bullshit.
Right. So does that mean that the Fantastic Four is coming into the MCU?
Yes, absolutely.
Got it.
Which we heard that as a rumor, right, for a while back here. And I think that's what we're going to deal with in Doomsday is these guys coming from another multiverse or another universe. They're probably going to bring some warning about either Galactus or incursions or something. There's a reason why they're here.
Right.
Their Earth is probably destroyed.
Right. I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
It has to be more than just their Earth.
Right.
It has to be their dimension probably.
True,
right?
yeah.
So, and I'm sure we'll see that in Fantastic Four as to
Right.
why they're coming here.
Yep. There was a couple, like, people just, they can't have nice things. They have to bitch, right? There are people complaining about, well, now that spoiled Fantastic Four because we know how it's going to end. Bitch, we knew how this shit was going to end anyways. We knew that they weren't going to just have a Fantastic Four in their own universe and not come into the MCU.
Right.
We knew that.
So these are the same people that would be like, hey, this country sucked or whatever.
Yep.
Instead of just enjoying the journey.
Right.
Because I can guarantee you whatever your destination is, it's not going to be what you think it is.
Correct.
So understanding the journey does not determine the journey itself.
Correct.
And so we're on a journey. Let's just go with it.
I want to go back to some of the things you talked about. Bucky, he got his moments in this movie.
Right.
When he showed up on the bike with the long hair again,
Right.
the shotgun, bro, that was like some Terminator type shit.
Right.
That was awesome. Yelena, dude, she nailed it as this version, this Black Widow. She's now Black Widow, right? Like, and I would almost say that Marvel's handled this Black Widow better than Natasha's.
Well, maturity.
Yeah.
And I don't mean the people, but the experiences and the sheer number of movies they've made now.
Right.
So maturity.
There's more depth to this character.
Sure.
Like Natasha's Black Widow to me just felt like she had it all figured out. She was she was cocky, not in an annoying way like, Captain Marvel, but you didn't really see her emotional, her pain, and with Yelena, you see that. Right. Also different points, right? I think when we saw Natasha in Iron Man 2 for the first time, she was already on that path of kind of making amends for her past, right? She's working on the good side now.
Right.
Yelena, we're going through that journey with her where she's now making that transition. Like, I don't even know if I could be a hero per se.
Right.
I was surprised at the themes in this movie. A lot of times with MCU movies, but the underlying theme is not that deep. This movie, a lot of it was about trauma, depression. Right. I mean, a lot of how they showed us the Void and Bob's character was almost like a allegory for depression.
Right.
Right. He's going in this dark space and that takes over. And he talks about having these swings, and we see these guys dealing with trauma, right? It's one thing when you see, they kill people on screen, do all this stuff, and a lot of times we're almost so desensitized to it. But this is almost making it a little more human, a little more grounded, and going, dude, there is an impact to being forced to kill innocent people and things of that nature. And I think they did a great job of telling that, but not beating you over the head with it.
Right. I mean, they even talked about his journey too. So you had Elena's journey, you had Bob's journey. Yep. So Bob's journey was he went to, he was traveling just looking for more and better drugs. Right. And got into this program that he thought would make him a better person. So, and then all this other stuff turns out. Yeah. The blackouts, the doubt, this eventually turned into a God complex kind of a deal. Right. Then the whole Void thing, and then the emotional recovery. Yeah. So that was a lot in this movie, like
Absolutely.
You said.
And it was impressive that they were able to tell that story, those themes, but also deliver a quality comic book movie. Right? Like it still had the action, it still had the heroes in the end, it still had all of your what you would expect, but it had so much more emotional depth to it, which you don't normally get or you haven't in a while. So I like this shift, and I hope it continues where it felt different for a Marvel movie. Right.
I'm just surprised that they killed off Taskmaster so quick.
Oh, that was quick, dude.
It was like, what was the point of even having her in it? So
I guess they got to kill somebody, right?
Yeah.
Now, how'd you feel about, you said everybody cooked. What about Ghost? I feel like this character was the only one that really didn't have a lot of depth to her in this movie.
You didn't ask about Ghost, but I think in the group, she made sense. But her as that character, I would have never put her in that role.
Okay.
But she did what Ghost does, besides taking out Taskmaster. True. Matter of fact, I thought that she was probably, even though she had the phasing capability, I thought she was the weakest out of all of them.
Yeah.
And maybe she should have been taken out because I've never seen Taskmaster being just put down that easily.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was a little insane. Like, you mean to tell me that the armor's not bulletproof?
Right.
Then why are they wearing the armor then?
Yeah.
I mean, I swear I've seen Taskmaster shot before, and it didn't even go through the armor.
I mean, but the bullet didn't technically go through. Maybe it was just impact. Because remember, it's just sitting there on her head with the blood on it, right? That's true. Okay. But the other thing is what's his face? The fake Captain of America. And he got beat over that.
Yeah, he
like
did.
Throughout the whole movie and shit.
Yep.
I didn't realize his power. I mean, this dude was like leaping when he was in the
soldier,
shaft. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yep. Yeah, because I saw some comments too online. Like, this is a very like underpowered Avengers group. Like, yes and no. Like, there's no God, there's no Thor here, but essentially you have 3 super soldiers.
Right.
Now, they all have different versions of the serum. Obviously, Red Guardian probably had the most shitty version of the serum.
Right. The whole conversation in the van.
Yes.
Oh, what version of serum did you get? And then they go off, on that tangent and stuff. But you're right, 3 super soldiers.
Yeah. 3 super soldiers. You got Yelena, who's just a badass, right? She fills that Black Widow void. And then you got Ghost, who definitely the phasing power is cool. Like I can see that really coming in handy, bouncing off these other characters. And then you got Sentry, who, I mean, obviously at some point Bob's going to go back to Sentry. He's going to have to.
Right.
And dude, how about the way they displayed his power on screen?
That was pretty cool. It was controlled, which I like. It was gladiator-esque.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't overt. It wasn't, and the suit was just spot on.
Yeah, it was cool.
I love the way they designed that suit. I'm thinking fucking gold. I mean, how are they going to pull that off?
Right.
But it was pretty cool the way they did that. And, of course, Super Soldier got his ass kicked.
Yes.
That was funny. I mean, it wasn't funny, but he's like, took off his jacket. I mean, you've seen this guy, he's flying.
Right.
Everybody's hitting him. Nothing's working. Red Guardian snaps a knife in his face. And then what you going to do, take off your jacket and jump on top of him? Yep. And besides that, when did his other arm become like incredibly strong or bionic or whatever the hell it is? Because he's punching with the mechanical arm, but then he's punching with the right arm. Isn't it just a regular arm?
Yeah. Well, I guess, I mean, a super soldier, but yeah, his hand would probably be smashed at some point.
Whatever.
And then he rips Bucky's arm right out
and
of his
beat him with it.
And do with ease.
Right.
And this is also like, I really hope that when the Superman movie comes, I hope they're watching.
Right.
Because that's how you do Superman.
Yep.
That's how you do Superman's power.
Yep.
Literally, like, nothing's phasing him at all. He ain't bleeding. It was impressive, and it has me, I think, I got more faith in what they're going to do with this cosmic level story and these superpowered beings. Because that's one thing we've always talked about, like, are they going to be able to portray a Franklin Richards? Are they going to be able to portray Galactus and these things on screen? And it seems like, if I'm betting, I'd say yes.
Yeah.
I think they're going to.
Yeah. I mean, what they've done in the past, like I said, they've gotten a bunch of characters in one space at one time.
Yep.
And they really pulled it off.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there was a learning curve. So I expect, what they did then plus.
Right. I mean, if you think about what they did with Infinity War, what we just saw with Deadpool and Wolverine managing different characters from different universes, Doctor Strange with the incursions, they've tested all of this stuff to where I think they're really going to deliver with Doomsday and Secret Wars.
Absolutely.
What else in this movie? So the end. Let's talk about Allegra de Fontaine. How do you feel about her character?
I feel better about it. She did. Dreyfus did a really good job. being that conniving, backstabbing, fucking politician. Right. It's like smile for the cameras, but everything that she did was for her own gain.
And she's been described as the Nick Fury of this group. Do you feel that way?
No.
No.
I don't feel that. She's not a soldier. She's not, guarding secrets. She's not protecting anything but herself.
Okay.
Nick Fury is a soldier. He's a leader of global task force, and the objective is to protect Earth.
Yeah.
And her goal is to ascend to some political position.
Got it. So a lot more selfish.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I guess the closest thing, I mean, Nick Fury was kind of a support / organizer for the original Avengers. She's the closest thing to that role, if you will.
Well, and I mean, sure, she's an organizer. I mean, all leaders organize shit and bring people together to get things done. But it's just globally different.
Yeah.
And the reason that they were doing it.
Yep. I agree. I liked her in this movie. And you just do no limit to how much she's going to stab someone in the back.
Right.
And I had no idea. I did not see that twist at the end coming.
No.
At all. No. I'm thinking, they're going to bring this chick in. Like, this is a wrap. And even if that was the case, if that twist didn't happen, it's still amazing movie. Right. Still great. Like, Absolutely. They knocked it. It wasn't one of those where, you get a shitty movie and they try to save it with one big twist. We've seen movies like this. Yes. Like, what the fuck? Then the twist, the twist was good, but the rest of the movie sucks. Mm-hmm. We've even seen Marvel movies where the movie sucks, but the post-credit scene was amazing. Right. Like, I've left the theater going, I could have just saw the post-credit scene because that was better than the entire fucking movie. Yeah. But this was not that. They nailed it on all fronts. And do that twist. Like, I'm thinking they're going to, take her in, and then she walks them right into a fucking press conference, announces them as the new Avengers, and I'm like, oh, shit. And then I understood the asterisk. Like, because this movie is actually New Avengers. Right. But you can't name it New Avengers because it's going to spoil the movie.
Yes.
Now, I wonder, and I hope they do this. I hope that after a few weeks, there's like a 2-week embargo or something like with spoilers where they'll start putting more spoiler-esque things in trailers. Because it's kind of like, if you've not seen it by now, we got to do something more to get you in. Right. Like they do with Deadpool and Wolverine where, now they show more cameos and stuff down the road. I wonder if they're going to be that bold and change the name to New Avengers in their promos and stuff.
I don't know.
I mean, it'd be cool. I always said this. I'm waiting for the day when there's a studio that is bold enough to drop an unannounced movie. You see it in the music industry. You'll be like, all of a sudden, Beyonce's done it, J. Cole's done it. I'm pretty sure Drake's done it, Eminem has done it, where no promo, no pre-announcement, just all of a sudden at midnight they drop their new album. Now, this is a little different because you got to have theaters ready and shit, but could you imagine if, dude, we're sitting here and all of a sudden a trailer drops for a new Avengers movie and they're like, it's out right now. Like, what the fuck? People be running to the theaters. That's my marketing pitch. Right, Anyways.
Right. Sounds pretty cool.
Yes, but that twist, you didn't see it coming?
I definitely didn't. No. I thought they was going to, just destroy her and stuff, but no.
And then the post-credit scene we touched on a little bit. They're back at Avengers Tower now. They got their new Avengers logo, right? Matter of fact, hold on. Do I got this here? Yeah, they're switching it up, dude. Oh, wait, hey, go to the laptop. So we got the crew from Doomsday watching Thunderbolts in the in their little deal. Here it is, the Fantastic Four ship we saw at the end, right? We don't need to see them. New Avengers is a new title, and there's their new little Avengers logo. So it definitely looks like a knockoff, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And then this post-credit scene, they're talking about how Sam Wilson's not down with what they're doing. Right. Because this is kind of, it's a CIA-ran group, right, with De Fontaine. De Fontaine, yeah. Or Da Fontaine. It was funny when she's in court. It's like, duh. So it's kind of like, it's what Captain America doesn't want. Remember, he didn't want to work with the government because he was afraid of, well, what if we don't see eye to eye type shit? And now from his perspective, it's a CIA group using their name. Right. And he's like, no, screw that. That's our name. So he must be putting together his own Avengers team.
Right.
So we're probably going to see a little, New Avengers versus Avengers in this Doomsday movie.
Sure.
And that's going to be interesting too. Is where do the other pieces fall? Right. Like who joins his Avengers? Mm-hmm. You got Kate Bishop. Does he bring Hulk out of fucking retirement? Mm-hmm. Thor's going to come back. He's probably going to be on Sam Wilson's side. Mm-hmm. So it's who's on that squad versus the other team, which it just adds to the level of intrigue to Doomsday with Dr. Doom's intro, incursions, leading to Secret Wars, and now you have this whole other situation with the two Avengers teams.
Right.
There's a lot that's going to happen in this movie.
And a lot can happen.
Yeah.
And we talking about a whole another decade of movies.
Right.
And this is kind of the starting point for that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to all of it.
In fact, Kevin Feige recently said as of right now, he has a 10-year plan for mutants. X-Men, that whole deal, which is where Secret Wars, I think, is going to lead us to. Right. We're bringing Fantastic Four into this universe, and I would assume that by the end of Secret Wars, we're probably going to have one universe, just like they did in the comics, where Fantastic Four, X-Men, Spider-Man, everybody's in this one universe. Right. So it'd be like a soft reboot.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot. If he's talking about, if Feige is talking about a 10-year run on just the mutants alone.
Yeah.
You still got some version of the Avengers. Right. You probably can have some, multiple versions of, the X-Men, X-Force and things like that. Bring in Alpha Flight, somebody, please.
Do it.
But then you got all the other stuff, like, the Fantastic Four. Is there going to be more Iron Man shit, Iron Heart shit, things like that. So about a good 20 years of stuff underway.
Dude, they have endless stories to tell. That's why when they have to make up new shits, like, do you have 100 years of stories to pull from, to be inspired by? Right. You have to copy it.
And because, it takes you 3 years to make a movie, why change things so dramatically that, you're throwing people off and confusing people and all that kind of stuff.
Well, you also talked a little bit about Sentry. Dude, I loved his portrayal. I'm so glad it wasn't Steven Yeun.
Right.
No knock on him as an actor, but that was perfect.
That was. Yep. I mean, that casting is along the lines of, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Hugh Jackman, things like that, dude.
Yep.
So that was spot on for both of those characters, Sentry and Void.
And it was, I see that. And remember Adam Warlock from Guardians 3?
Yeah.
I see what they did here, and then I look at what he did with, it's like, if you would have did it a little more like this, would have been much better. Like I understand they wanted to make him like a newborn, but it was too funny, too goofy.
Right.
They nailed it because kind of he wasn't a newborn, but he ain't no superhero.
Right.
He's a meth head, and he gets these powers. So it's almost like the same concept. This is brand new to him, and you saw his immaturity, but it wasn't goofy.
Right.
With the Adam Warlock, it was like, first of all, the kid does not look like Adam Warlock. Number one. And number two, it was too goofy and too funny for someone that superpowered.
Exactly.
And I hope we see more of Sentry. I mean, obviously we're going to in Doomsday.
Right.
I saw some stuff online. They were like, no one's going to be able to stop Sentry and they even had Doom in that list. Like, Doom could go toe-to-toe with Sentry or no?
I think so.
With his tech and everything?
Well, I mean, his tech, the magic, the determination. Also, it's kind of like Scarlet Witch, throw something out there that makes him, stop and think for a couple of seconds.
Correct.
Then, he'll withdraw into his little child phase.
Absolutely.
Or whatever. And, he can probably do something then. But
so speaking of, even Wanda would be able to go toe-to-toe with him.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so, how the Glazes age.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, if you think about Superman, everybody from Batman, there are entities and there are people that can go toe-to-toe with Superman. So therefore, but we also don't even know what all of Sentry powers are in the show. In the movie.
True.
Because he appeared to be able to do some form of telekinesis.
Oh, when he touched them, right? Yeah.
What?
That's
like telepathy. Yeah, telekinesis, like when he smashed the jar that was on the table. So we don't know to what extent that goes.
Yep.
Then he's got the strength. We don't know how much that strength, vulnerability, moving fast,
speed,
all that kind of stuff. So we don't know what powers they're going to give him in these movies.
Yeah.
So, but obviously there's always somebody that's bigger, faster, stronger.
True. And speaking of the speed, Marvel has done speedsters so much better than DC on screen.
Absolutely.
Like you think about fucking Ezra Miller's ridiculous. And I say Ezra Miller, but that's the studio. Like, here's how we're going to edit. It looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
Even like the Superman, selfie cam type thing. I get it, but this looks way better.
Yep.
So take notes, DC. All right, so that is our deep dive into Thunderbolts / New Avengers. I cannot recommend this movie enough.
Absolutely.
Like, this was phenomenal. It tells a lot of. It also had some eye sweat moments, dude. Like her with her dad when she, that time where she's pretty much given up on everything. Like there was a little eye sweat in there for me. Not as much as Joel. What happened to our old boy Joel, but it was. And Sentry, I think, was I can't even say it was a highlight. They all were the highlight. Like your point, they all cooked. They all did. Cooked. Now I want to see more of Yelena. In the past, I didn't. I don't mind Red Guardian anymore. John Walker now is likable.
Right.
He was a pain. Like I could not stand this character, which is what they were going for. Right. But he's now likable, and then Sentry Bob is just that ticking time bomb. Like he's just hanging out in the corner. Hey, what's up? But at any moment he can fuck shit up, which is probably what's going to happen. I mean, someone could manipulate him and turn him into the Void. Like let's say a Scarlet Witch comes back and she's evil. She can easily fuck with his head, and all of a sudden he's the Void. Sending people into whatever. That's the Void.
But I mean, they've already revealed. One of his weaknesses. Whatever that switch does to him, it puts him out. Now, does it put out the Void too? Like if they would have clicked the button again, would have taken the Void out. So obviously it had some a catalyzing effect.
True.
In transitioning him from the Sentry to the Void.
Yeah.
So
that could come up again.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Look at that little Easter egg for you.